I think he'll change. He is committed of his own level of service, and that will remain.
Few institutions on Earth know how to stay completely silent like the British royal family. That quiet, untouchable silence isn't just a habit, it's their survival code. Never complain, never explain isn't just a phrase carved into royal history. It's practically law behind palace gates, passed down through generations. It's whispered from parent to child, shaping how every royal moves, speaks, and even breathes in public. Loyalty, secrecy, and above all, staying unseen. But what happens when that perfect silence finally cracks open from the inside? Just recently, sources close to Buckingham Palace revealed that Princess Anne may have done the unthinkable. She finally spoke up, not for the cameras, not for the spotlight, but behind locked doors where only the most trusted voices are allowed. And according to insiders, her words landed like a thunderclap. Reports claim she dropped a line so sharp, so loaded, that it left Prince Harry shaken in his Montecito home. The dossier exists, and we tried to tell him. Just 11 words, but apparently they hit hard. Imagine hearing that. Everything you believed about your life, your choices, your marriage, suddenly flipped inside out. Now whispers are spreading fast across London's most guarded circles. Some are calling it one of the biggest internal slip-ups in royal memory, an intelligence lapse that could change how history views the monarchy itself. What we're about to uncover questions everything we've been told about Harry and Meghan's story, and it's about to get intense. The real question is, did Princess Anne sense a storm before it hit? And did Harry just brush it off? Because the fallout from this moment reaches way beyond Hollywood glitz or royal love stories. Let's rewind to autumn 2016, London glowing gold under falling leaves, and Prince Harry completely captivated by Meghan Markle. Inside the palace, though, things moved fast into what insiders call protocol mode. Level 3 background screening. Usually routine stuff. It's just standard checks, finances, records, affiliations, nothing flashy, totally behind the scenes. But this time, whispers say the results caused real unease, not just among palace staff, but also within certain high-level security offices. Now, what could possibly make that happen over a rising actress from Hollywood? Insiders claim the review uncovered details that didn't quite match the story being told publicly. From 2008 to 2012, Meghan was seen as the underdog actress hustling through endless auditions, trying to make it in an industry stacked against newcomers. It was the image of perseverance, what she'd later call her rags to royalty journey. But according to confidential sources, not everything lined up so neatly. Private briefings reportedly hinted that during those same years, she was occasionally seen in some of the most exclusive Mediterranean social circles, aboard luxury yachts, and attending gatherings so elite that just one evening there could cost a small fortune. It wasn't illegal or scandalous, but to the royal system, it was unusual, a lifestyle that didn't match the public narrative. And that's what raised eyebrows. She was seen moving through exclusive social circles, powerful figures from the Gulf, high-level business leaders from the Middle East, and European magnates with deep influence. Yet not a single one of those appearances seemed to match the lifestyle her public record showed. Princess Anne, famous for her sharp instincts and her long-standing connection with palace security, was reportedly one of the first royals to review the internal report. Insiders claim she went through the details herself, the travel schedules, the event lists, the financial traces, and then quietly asked the question that Harry never did: who paid for all this? Because in global elite spaces, people don't just casually rarely walk into private gatherings where fortunes and influence flow behind the scenes. Access to those rooms usually comes at a high cost, financially or socially, so someone had to be behind the arrangements. Someone handled the invitations. Someone made the introductions, and in intelligence work, unexplained financial or social access is a serious cause for concern. It raises questions about influence, credibility, and protection. Princess Anne, with her years of experience, reportedly saw what Harry might have missed. This didn't look like random luck or coincidence. It looked organized. Some analysts privately described it as structured social positioning, meaning a calculated effort to be seen in the right places among the right people again and again. Who's behind all this? What kind of deals or expectations could be tied to such exclusive access? Those were the burning questions inside the palace. According to insiders, royal security teams dug deep, cross-checking travel details, financial movements, and even event photos, creating a detailed map of connections stretching from California to Monaco, from the Mediterranean to the Middle East. The strange part, none of the funding trails appeared in any official financial records. It was invisible, but far too consistent to be random. Analysts reportedly marked the findings as a situation that needed urgent review, especially given the high-profile attention surrounding Harry at the time. Then came the meeting, private, intense, and deeply personal. Sources claim this conversation marked the moment everything changed between Princess Anne and her nephew. While Harry would later interpret it as harsh or unfair, those close to Anne insist it was anything but. They say it was her final attempt to protect him before things went too far. Imagine holding sensitive intelligence in your hands, knowing your nephew is head over heels in love, preparing for a wedding the entire world will watch, yet realizing he might not know the full picture. Princess Anne reportedly placed a confidential file, the so-called Saudi Dossier, in front of Harry and began explaining a concept that only those familiar with elite global circles truly understand: strategic social placement. In those environments, charming, intelligent, and socially polished individuals can be deliberately introduced into powerful spaces, not through espionage, but through carefully arranged opportunities, invitations, and elite introductions. It's all about positioning, subtle, sophisticated, and calculated. According to palace insiders, Anne didn't hold back. She allegedly told Harry straight up, "The photos and travel records show a woman who didn't just wander into these rooms by accident. She knew exactly how those spaces worked. She was confident, skilled, and fully aware of who surrounded her." Her words reportedly sent chills through the room. Anne's warning was said to be firm but protective. She wasn't claiming Meghan had done anything wrong. She was warning Harry that not everyone in those elite circles operates without an agenda. "She hasn't just been seeing you, Harry," Anne allegedly said. "She's been maintained within circles where no one is invited unless there's a reason." But Harry, deeply in love and fiercely loyal, couldn't accept that idea. He viewed the file as an insult, proof in his eyes of family bias rather than protection. Reports say he dismissed the evidence, locked the folder away, and carried on, unaware that Anne believed he was walking straight into a situation she considered deeply risky. For Anne, this wasn't about class, image, or personal judgment. It was about experience. Decades in royal life had taught her that charm and influence often come wrapped in polished smiles and perfect timing. Every detail in that dossier, unexplained luxury, repeated high-profile appearances, and a carefully crafted public image that didn't fully align with reality, set off alarms she'd learned never to ignore. These didn't look like signs of romance. They looked like signs of something structured, maybe even organized. And the numbers just didn't add up. Between 2008 and 2012, Meghan Markle's public record showed small acting jobs, brief TV appearances, and short-term roles. She wasn't famous yet. She was grinding like any other performer in Los Angeles, chasing auditions, worrying about rent, and taking every opportunity she could find. It was the reality of a working actor trying to break through in an unforgiving industry. But according to the internal report, another version of her life existed, one that wasn't visible to the public. The documents allegedly showed a woman who, during the same years, was moving through high-level international circles, meeting influential figures, attending luxury events, and appearing in places that ordinary, struggling artists couldn't usually access. It wasn't criminal or scandalous, but it raised serious questions about how that kind of lifestyle fit with the official story. Princess Anne, with her sharp instincts, reportedly saw what others refused to notice, and that's where this story shifts from personal to national and even historic. A private warning unheeded, one that could quietly shape royal history for years to come. Because in the end, the contradiction was impossible to ignore. The timeline didn't match, the lifestyle didn't fit. The carefully managed public image stood in contrast to what some private documents appeared to show. It all circled back to one central point. While love can be powerful, the financial reality behind it always tells its own truth. She wasn't a Hollywood A-lister, not even close. She was a hard-working actor in Los Angeles, hustling day to day, chasing auditions, juggling bills, and taking whatever jobs came her way. During that entire stretch, her most recognizable role wasn't a big breakout or a lead performance. It was as one of the briefcase models on Deal or No Deal. That's it. According to entertainment insiders at the time, the pay for that gig was around $800 per episode, before taxes, before agent and management cuts. That's not luxury money, that's survival money in Los Angeles, where rent alone can swallow half a paycheck. She was grinding like thousands of other actors, hoping for her big break. But then comes the part that doesn't quite add up. The other side of the equation. Newly surfaced photos reportedly showed her aboard private yachts worth tens of millions of dollars. Not rentals or public tours, but exclusive vessels known for hosting invite-only gatherings in the Mediterranean. These weren't casual vacations, they were private events in Monaco, the French Riviera, and other luxury hubs where the guest lists supposedly included high-profile business figures, global investors, and well-connected power players. The contrast couldn't be more striking. On paper, she was living the unpredictable life of a struggling actress, but in photos, she appeared in settings far beyond what that income could reasonably support. And that's exactly what made analysts inside certain circles pause, because lifestyle patterns like that often signal hidden layers to a story that's still being unraveled. These are the kinds of events where even the champagne can cost more than most people's monthly rent. Spaces so exclusive that entry is invitation only, every name on the list carefully verified. No one just walks in off the street. And this is where even Hollywood insiders quietly admit something doesn't quite line up, because small TV roles don't pay for Monaco summers, and a briefcase job doesn't exactly fund luxury yacht trips across the Mediterranean. Let's slow this down for a second, because numbers don't bend to stories, they just reveal the truth. Back in 2010, a first-class flight from Los Angeles to Monaco could run anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 depending on timing and route. That's before even stepping foot in a hotel. During Monaco's Grand Prix week, the yacht show, or peak summer season, nightly rates at top hotels could start around $1,000 and climb much higher. And that's just for a place to sleep. Then there's the fashion factor. Dressing for these high society gatherings doesn't come cheap. Industry stylists estimate that proper evening wear for those circles can range from $5,000 to $20,000 per outfit, depending on the designer and custom tailoring. Add professional hair, makeup, jewelry, and accessories, and the costs climb fast. By even the most conservative math, a single week in Monaco, living and dressing at that level, could easily surpass $50,000. That's not an expense most working actors could dream of covering on their own. And that's exactly why palace analysts and entertainment insiders alike started asking the same quiet question: who was footing the bill for a lifestyle that seemed far beyond her official earnings? And according to insiders, the photographs suggested this wasn't a one-time moment. It looked like a pattern. Multiple years, multiple destinations, all showing the same high-end settings and luxury surroundings. That's exactly where analysts reportedly started paying close attention. Because when someone appears in elite spaces repeatedly without the financial activity to back it up, questions start flying fast. Sources familiar with the internal review claimed that her financial records didn't reflect the kind of spending these trips would require. There were no large withdrawals, no card statements showing expensive hotel stays, no invoices for designer clothing or jewelry, which could only mean one thing: someone else was handling the logistics. Someone else was covering costs, arranging accommodations, and making sure she looked perfectly in place at every event. That's what reportedly played Princess Anne to pull Harry aside for a serious talk. Her warning, according to insiders, was calm but direct. Power never gives without expecting something in return. In those upper-tier circles, relationships aren't just about charm, they operate on unspoken understandings. Access is treated like currency, appearance becomes a form of influence, and privacy is the price of entry. Once you recognize that pattern, the story shifts dramatically. It's no longer about romance or coincidence, but about positioning and purpose. Intelligence-style reviews reportedly concluded this wasn't simple good fortune or social luck. The images covered years, not just isolated trips. The pattern was too consistent to ignore. It wasn't random chance, it was structured support. It wasn't coincidence, it looked like cultivation. And it wasn't just opportunity, it resembled investment. And as everyone in high-level circles knows, investments always come with expectations. Insiders say that when palace analysts dug deeper into the financial side, the findings raised even more eyebrows. There was no solid evidence that she personally covered the costs for those high-end travels, accommodations, or appearances. In security and intelligence terms, that kind of setup has a clear definition. It means someone else was managing the operation. When a person's movements, expenses, and access are consistently arranged by others, it signals a major power imbalance. You don't pay because you refuse to, but because someone else wants to handle every detail. They coordinate your travel, ensure your safety, and position you exactly where they want you. And in exchange, you're offering something they find valuable.
That value doesn't have to be shady. It could be influence, presence, reputation, or simple access to the right people. But make no mistake, the exchange exists, even if it's never spoken aloud. And that's reportedly the question Princess Anne placed right in front of Harry. If this was an investment, what was expected in return? And that's where one name allegedly appeared repeatedly in those documents: Marcus Anderson. If those private gatherings on the yachts were the stage, insiders claim Marcus wasn't just a bystander, he was the one quietly coordinating, connecting, and guiding the flow of introductions. For years, the public saw Marcus Anderson as nothing more than Meghan's charming friend, a smooth, well-connected insider in the Soho House circle, known for his polished image and A-list relationships. To most, he seemed like a loyal confidant with great social instincts. But behind palace walls, analysts reportedly saw something very different. Princess Anne, according to sources, didn't see him as just another companion. She saw him as someone playing a much deeper role. In professional terms, that's serious language, and it's not used carelessly. So why would experienced analysts even consider that possibility? The answer lies in his position and the influence that came with it. Marcus Anderson wasn't just an employee, he served as the global membership director for Soho House, a highly exclusive private club chain famous for blending business with luxury. These places aren't regular hotels or bars, they're curated social networks where entertainment stars, high net worth investors, political players, and international figures cross paths quietly, away from headlines. And that's where his real influence came in. Not in serving guests, but in deciding who got through the door. He controlled introductions, shaped access, and connected people who might otherwise never meet. That kind of social leverage can open powerful opportunities or create complex entanglements. Then came 2015, the year before Meghan met Prince Harry. Insiders say Marcus Anderson personally coordinated one of the most high-profile launches in Soho House history, the grand opening of Soho House Istanbul, a glamorous, invite-only event that quietly brought together entertainment elites, business moguls, and well-connected figures from across Europe and the Middle East, all in one place. That location, Istanbul, matters more than most people realize. It's not just another glamorous city, it's the meeting point of East and West, where European finance quietly intersects with Middle Eastern wealth. It's a place where influence flows behind closed doors, and major introductions happen far from public records or press cameras. According to sources familiar with high-level briefings, the 2015 Soho House Istanbul launch wasn't just a glitzy party, it was a highly curated social environment. It reportedly brought together rising talent and serious money, placing ambitious personalities near global investors and powerful patrons who could open doors across continents. It was, in essence, a marketplace of opportunity, wrapped in luxury and discretion. The internal reports allegedly noted that this particular event played a key role. It's where Meghan was first connected to several of the same international circles that later appeared in photos from those Mediterranean gatherings. The timeline makes it hard to overlook. Istanbul in 2015 came just months before her introduction to Prince Harry the following year. By then, insiders claimed she'd become fully fluent in the world of elite social navigation, understanding the silent rules, the unspoken expectations, and how to move through those rooms with confidence and precision. Istanbul wasn't the start, it was the turning point, the final step before entering a much higher level of social influence and connection. And here's where it all ties together. The first meeting between Harry and Meghan in London in 2016 wasn't purely by chance. That mutual friend was none other than Marcus Anderson, and that's where the entire situation reportedly began to spiral. What followed, according to insiders, was nothing short of controlled chaos inside the palace, emergency calls, confidential meetings, and legal advisors being looped in overnight. It was all hands on deck. In the days after Princess Anne's alleged warning came to light, Buckingham Palace released a brief, carefully phrased statement firmly denying the claims. They labeled the story categorically false. But here's what stood out. They didn't threaten lawsuits, question Anne's mental clarity, or call her unreliable. And that silence spoke volumes, because this wasn't just anyone making claims. This was Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, a senior member of the monarchy with more than 50 years of public service and a reputation for discipline, duty, and directness. She's attended more official engagements than nearly anyone in the family. You don't casually discredit someone with that level of standing behind palace walls. Then came the legal headache, because if private operational information really was discussed internally, what rules or confidentiality protections actually apply? That's where palace lawyers reportedly found themselves stuck on a razor's edge. Any official legal action involving a senior royal risks exposing more than anyone wants made public. Meanwhile, Meghan's representatives reportedly came out swinging, calling the entire story pure fiction and attention-seeking nonsense. Both sides, it seems, wanted the issue buried, but behind the polished statements and diplomatic tone, tension was reportedly rising fast inside royal circles, leaving the entire institution on high alert. But here's where things got even more interesting. Look closely at the strategy. Meghan's camp and palace spokespeople didn't challenge the details of Princess Anne's concerns. They went after her motives. They questioned her reasoning, not the timelines or facts being discussed. And that's a major difference that analysts immediately noticed. Then came a twist. Lawyers connected to Prince Andrew released their own statement, claiming Anne's reported description of events was misleading and taken out of context. And that phrase, taken out of context, is important. It doesn't deny that something happened, it just reframes how it's being interpreted. It's a way of saying, yes, but not like that. Behind the scenes, things reportedly turned serious. King Charles is said to have called for immediate meetings with senior advisors and legal experts to assess the potential fallout. These weren't just PR discussions, they were full-scale crisis talks. The big questions on the table were, what exactly does Anne have? How much documentation exists? And how can this story be contained before it grows beyond control? Because in the era of non-stop online coverage, traditional royal crisis management simply wasn't enough. The narrative was already spreading globally, and social media had made silence impossible to maintain. Insiders say the palace couldn't even draft a unified statement until they fully understood the scope of Anne's information. And looming over everything were two major complications: how to handle the questions surrounding Andrew and how to respond to Meghan's side. Both parties had already issued denials, each one carefully crafted, legally sound, and deliberately vague. But this wasn't just another royal headline, it was a full-blown constitutional crisis in motion. Barely 72 hours after King Charles's private announcement, the Royal Legal Council reportedly gathered for an emergency session unlike anything seen in modern palace history. Their mission? To navigate the near impossible, untangling a monarch's marriage while keeping the centuries-old institution standing strong. Think about that for a second. Rewriting the rules of royal marriage in real time, under global scrutiny, all while protecting the monarchy's stability and the delicate balance of constitutional law. It wasn't courtroom drama, it was political chess at the highest level. The royal legal team faced an overwhelming challenge. Every issue had ripple effects: titles, housing, financial access, public representation, even potential questions about future succession. Nothing could be changed without shaking the structure of the crown itself. Reports say the terms being drafted were incredibly complex, a web of rights, restrictions, and symbolic gestures meant to preserve order while signaling quiet reform. At the center of it all was Sir Gavin Mand, one of Britain's most respected constitutional lawyers. Insiders describe him as precise, relentless, and absolutely unflinching under pressure. His task wasn't just to draft legal documents, it was to hold together an institution under unprecedented strain. Early versions of the agreement reportedly proposed that Camilla would retain the honorary title Queen Consort Emeritus, a dignified ceremonial status that sounds grand but carries no governing authority or succession power. In essence, Camilla would transition into private life, no longer serving as an active figure within the monarchy. The most striking detail? Her official travel budget and personal staff, which are currently supported through the sovereign grant, would reportedly end within 90 days of the formal separation. In real terms, that means she'd retain the title of Queen Consort Empress but lose nearly all the privileges that once came with the role. No royal funding, no official duties, no ceremonial backing. Her position would become entirely symbolic, stripped of the influence and material benefits that once defined her standing. According to palace sources, this entire process is a constitutional maze unlike anything Britain has ever faced. Insiders say it's the first time since the Royal Marriages Act of 1772 that legal advisors have had to interpret what a royal separation means for a reigning monarch. Every sentence of this agreement is reportedly being reviewed word by word to eliminate any possible loopholes that could haunt the crown in the future. But the real tension runs even deeper. Trust, or rather the lack of it. Behind the polished walls of legal diplomacy, palace lawyers are said to be working on an extremely strict confidentiality clause. It would bar Camilla from participating in or consulting on any media projects, books, interviews, or documentaries about the royal family without direct palace approval. The move isn't about silencing her, it's about controlling the narrative, protecting the institution's image, and keeping future generations from rewriting history through rumor or bias. Outside the palace, though, it was pure chaos. Within hours, the world exploded with reactions. Social media lit up like wildfire. Every rumor, every supposed leak, every whispered quote spreading at lightning speed. The memory of Princess Diana suddenly surged back into public conversation, reminding everyone that when the monarchy faces private turmoil, the whole world ends up watching. Sources say King Charles quietly requested that the proceedings be wrapped up before the royal tour season in March, hoping to restore focus to official duties and reframe the monarchy's public image before it was overshadowed by ongoing personal drama. Insiders describe this not as a simple legal separation, but as the closing act of a story that's been unfolding for more than half a century. A royal title without real power, a name now symbolic rather than influential. It's the quiet end to an era that began long before most people even realized it was in motion. The financial details were just as significant. Reports suggest Camilla would lose access to the Duchy of Cornwall's resources, the estate that generates enormous income for the royal family. She would also be formally excluded from crown estate privileges, effectively severing the financial structure that once supported her royal responsibilities and lifestyle. As for housing, that part was settled too. Ray Mill House, her private countryside residence, would become her permanent home, comfortable and familiar, but not part of the royal estate network. It's independence, but with clearly drawn lines. And then came the enforcement clause, a powerful detail insiders say was personally emphasized by Prince William himself. Legal documents reportedly include penalties of up to £5 million for any violation of confidentiality or media restrictions. One member of his team was quoted as saying, "No more rewriting history to fit personal narratives." Throughout this entire ordeal, King Charles reportedly stayed involved in every major briefing, present, focused, but deeply strained. The weight of balancing royal duty with personal heartbreak had left him visibly torn, even as the legal process pressed forward at full speed. Insiders described him as a man caught between protecting the monarchy and managing his own emotional limits. Then came the announcement that changed everything. Prince William's statement. The morning began like any other inside Kensington Palace, calm and routine, until exactly 7:48 a.m., when an unexpected message appeared through official royal channels. But this was no standard release. It didn't come from a press team, an advisor, or a committee. It came directly from Prince William himself. That detail alone sent shockwaves through palace observers and media circles alike. Royal communications are usually layered, filtered, and diplomatic, but this was direct, intentional, and delivered with unmistakable authority. In his statement, Prince William officially declared the complete and permanent end to any future working relationship between the Crown and the Duchess of Sussex. No review period, no reconciliation clause, no polite ambiguity. The language was final and absolute. The message was clear. This chapter was closed for good. Experts describe the tone as calm and procedural, yet historically groundbreaking. It was the kind of move that subtly redefined how the monarchy handles internal disputes, formal, firm, and impossible to misinterpret. The moment the announcement dropped, the global media machine roared to life. The BBC broke the story first, followed just minutes later by Sky News. Over in the US, ITV interrupted morning broadcasts, and by 8 a.m., CNN had already pushed a bright red alert banner across screens worldwide. Regular news segments, from finance to weather, were instantly replaced by rolling coverage of the royal shockwave.
Veteran reporters like Nicholas Witchell called it a moment unlike anything in modern royal reporting. Even seasoned journalists who'd covered decades of palace drama admitted they'd never seen a communication this direct or this final from within the royal ranks. The global response was immediate and electric. Reuters sent out its breaking alert just 4 minutes later, lighting up newsrooms in France, while outlets across Europe, Asia, and North America scrambled to update their headlines. The coordination of it all felt deliberate, precisely timed to dominate every major news cycle on 3 continents at once. Social media took it to another level. Data from CrowdTangle showed over 1 million interactions in just the first 10 minutes, and within 8 minutes, the story had climbed to the #1 trending topic worldwide. What stunned analysts even more was the precision of the timing. That 7:48 a.m. release wasn't random. It hit breakfast TV in Britain, afternoon programs in Asia, and late-night broadcasts in North America simultaneously. There was no soft rollout, no quiet testing of the waters, just instant, synchronized global exposure. Financial markets held steady overall, though brief trading spikes were noticed among British media companies as public sentiment surged online. And just as fast as the headlines spread, the reactions started flooding in. Some calling it a bold act of leadership, others calling it cold and irreversible. Early polling by YouGov painted a striking generational divide. Older citizens reportedly praised Prince William's move, calling it long overdue, necessary, and a strong step toward stabilizing the monarchy after months of turbulence. But younger demographics weren't so convinced. Many voiced frustration over how final and unforgiving the decision seemed, arguing that it left no room for reconciliation or dialogue. Commentators quickly dove into analysis, debating what this would mean for future coronations, charitable partnerships, and the royal family's media approach moving forward. Yet William himself stayed completely silent, offering no emotional interviews, no follow-up statements, and no commentary. That silence became its own powerful message, calm, controlled, and deliberate. Royal historians noted that while his choice was personal, it wasn't entirely without historical echoes. After Charles and Diana's separation in 1996, communications about royal titles and public duties were handled through formal government channels. But what made this moment so groundbreaking was that a future king personally authored and released a declaration of such weight, unfiltered and definitive. The move sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles too. British embassies across the Commonwealth reportedly reached out for clarification, and governors received detailed briefings on how to address the matter in their regions. Meanwhile, switchboards at Kensington Palace were said to be overwhelmed, thousands of calls flooding in within hours, confirming just how far and fast William's words had traveled. By the time the first hints of dawn stretched across London, the global press had already mobilized. Reporters stood ready, cameras positioned outside Kensington Palace and Gatcombe Park, satellite trucks lined up in formation, and journalists hunched over notebooks waiting for the next move. The whispers had been swirling for days, softly traded among palace staff and royal watchers who sensed something monumental was brewing. No one, not even the most experienced royal correspondents, could have predicted just how explosive it would be when it finally hit. One palace insider reportedly described the event as a rupture of historical proportions, not just a rift within a family, but a shockwave through the very heart of British society itself. This wasn't a scandal. It was a seismic shift, a moment so powerful that it redefined how the monarchy, the media, and the public all interact in the modern age. Insiders claim Prince William acted instantly, ordering a full-scale palace response and triggering emergency communication channels designed for high-security situations. Every department was mobilized, press, protocol, and legal teams all working in perfect coordination. But make no mistake, this wasn't improvised. According to sources close to palace operations, events of this scale don't just happen overnight. They're carefully planned, engineered down to the smallest detail, with every possible scenario mapped out and every response rehearsed. Yet what made this moment truly remarkable wasn't the planning, it was the certainty, the confidence, the timing, the precision. December 2025 will forever stand as a turning point in royal history, a moment when silence broke, leadership shifted, and the monarchy stepped into a new era under fire and focus. And that's where this story leaves us, on the edge of change, watching history unfold in real time. If you've been following this royal saga, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what's coming next in this ongoing royal storm might just rewrite everything we thought we knew about power, loyalty, and the crown.